Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Incubator Podcast. We're live at Hot Topics in Neonatology in Washington, D.C., and I have the pleasure of being joined today by Dr. Edgardo Szyld. Edgardo, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
You are a neonatologist and a clinical research director at Indiana University. You're internationally recognized for advancing delivery room care through large, pragmatic trials and your longstanding leadership with ILCOR. You have helped shape global resuscitation guidelines for more than 2 decades, and you're presenting at Hot Topics a presentation titled Prophylactic CPAP for Late Preterm Newborns Born via C-Section, the plant study. The plant, like the nature, like the plant. I think it's a beautiful acronym. Early in your talk, really, you show statistics that we've been talking about this quite a lot already today, but every time I see the statistics, I am baffled, and how nearly 70% of the 400,000 preterm births in the U.S. are actually late preterm infants. And it's a population that it feels like, as neonatologists, we don't lend too much attention to because they do so well generally. But can you tell us a little bit about why this population matters so much and why we may be underestimating their overall impact on NICU care?
No, thank you for inviting me and to having me here. And the issue that in the session today, as you mentioned, it was highlighted how frequent the late preterm need some respiratory support. There's a very interesting study published last year from Switzerland where among 37,000 pregnant women, they demonstrated how it's like 5 times more frequent to have respiratory distress on late preterm if they were born by C-section. So when we reviewed the literature for a systematic review and meta-analysis we published 3 years ago, we found that CPAP, on one hand, was early CPAP or prophylactic CPAP was associated with a benefit for late preterm to prevent respiratory support and NICU admission. But on the other hand, very large observational studies associated the use of CPAP in the delivery room with pneumothorax. So, but the large studies, they are associated with a lot of risk of bias, only NICU patients, etc. So we decided to address this question because we found that the subgroup of only 35 patients in Celebi's paper, they benefit too much about prophylactic CPAP.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the prophylactic CPAP. I don't want to get into the intervention too much, but I thought also the patient selection on your trial was so interesting because you've selected a group of patients that are born between 34 and 36 and 6, and you're looking not just at gestational age. Sometimes we tend to do that. We just look at gestational age, but you're looking at other risk factors. One of the other risk factors for respiratory distress that you've identified that we're familiar with is babies born via C-section. And can you tell us a little bit about that thought process? Because that's quite innovative to include that in the inclusion criteria or eligibility criteria for a study.
Yeah, so we took the small amount of evidence available that it was this study from Celebrity. They found the subgroup of only 35 patients born by C-section and being late preterm. But the apparent benefit was huge. So we look at if we decided to do prophylactic on a group of patients that is a higher risk. And the higher risk is the combination of being late preterm plus born by C-section. And we did a pragmatic pilot study addressing this particular population. We didn't select if the C-section was elective, with or without labor, just to evaluate, can we do this study in the U.S., North America? Because the Celebi study was published in Turkey. It was performed in Turkey 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So people asking, why this intervention? Why we tried 20 minutes of CPAP.
Yes, I was going to ask you, maybe you can walk us through the intervention because the intervention is also quite innovative. It's 20 minutes of CPAP prophylactically. So can you tell us a little bit about what that entails?
And this is 20 minutes of CPAP immediately after birth if the baby is born by C-section and spontaneously breathing. Why 20 minutes? Because some people from Europe, they're asking me why you are not providing longer time. And I would say,
I would suspect people would ask you shorter, but okay, longer. Why not?
Longer because they consider that physiologically it's even better to do it longer. And what we said is that if the published evidence is 20 minutes of 5 to 6 centimeters of water, why should we try something different? Mm-hmm. And let's see, it is feasible, it is potential benefit, And this is what we did, just to try a pragmatic pilot to see if it's feasible, if it's promising, and if it's safe.
If it's safe, obviously.
And the safety is important because it was a lot of concern about pneumothorax.
Of course. And so I know that we can't really share too much of the outcomes yet. It's still an ongoing work. But can you tell us a little bit about the outcomes? What are exactly the outcomes you're looking at that you hope this intervention might affect directly? We spoke obviously about safety, but in terms of benefits, maybe can you tell us?
Yeah. So we initially targeted feasibility was first, and second, we decided to evaluate the duration of respiratory support, and we weren't able to find exactly that difference, but we found a reduction in NICU admission, what is aligned with the Celevis paper, and more importantly, we didn't find any pneumothorax, and was interesting is that the previous randomized control trial included 300 patients that we included in the meta-analysis. They didn't find any pneumothorax either. So the concern about pneumothorax is still there because they included 300 patients. We included 100 more, but the lack of pneumothorax is reassuring to think
how
about
do you
it.
plan on monitoring the rates of pneumothorax? Is this something that you're going to look at kind of the way we do it in clinical practice, where if symptoms present, this will be investigated, or is every baby going to have imaging done in order to assess?
No, it was pragmatic, and we didn't. We just take from the medical record pneumothorax, yes or not.
I see.
We didn't request to do an X-ray, but because, as you know, people doing X-ray to every baby, they found pneumothorax asymptomatic.
Absolutely.
So only by clinical indication they take an X-ray if there is a pneumothorax.
Whenever we start these projects, I feel like it takes a life of its own. And so I'm wondering, when you're looking at this project, we're eagerly looking forward to the data that you'll be releasing. But do you think that you've embarked on something that is going to be quite long? Because I'm assuming that no matter what the results are, whether benefit is shown, whether the benefit is not shown, there's always more questions that are going to come out saying, like we were just discussing a bit before, more time, less time, more pressure, less pressure. What do you think is going to be the longest? Yeah.
We are already planning plan 2.
Oh, really?
Because of the promising results.
It's a whole garden you're building.
Thank you. So we are already organizing plan 2. I already applied for funding to run the study. I have 11 centers committed to participate in the new study from Europe and North and South America. The interesting thing is that in Europe, they do not provide any antenatal steroids to this population, and in the US, we have plenty of centers that are using antenatal steroids in preterm. So we had the opportunity to compare that. The next study will be targeting 35 and 36 weeks only, because they may benefit more for the reduction in NICU admission, because what we see is that in the US at least, every baby at 34 weeks,
we'll get it anyway.
So if we want to have an impact, that will be 35 and 36 weekers.
Very good. Very good. Well, congratulations on this work, and thank you for dropping by the podcast. We hope you have a great time at the conference, and we're looking forward to reading the results of the study, of the planned study.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.